The security camera footage from that Saturday afternoon in March would later be played in courtrooms, on national television, and in corporate training seminars across the country. A well-dressed black couple in their early 30s stood at the entrance of Harrington Fine Jewelers, one of the most exclusive jewelry stores in Charlotte, North Carolina. He wore a tailored navy blazer and pressed slacks. She wore an elegant cream dress and carried herself with quiet confidence. They looked exactly like what they were, successful professionals ready to make a significant purchase. Linda Harrington, third-generation owner of the family business, spotted them from behind the counter. Something in her expression changed. She walked toward them with her arms crossed, positioning herself between them and the display cases like a guard protecting treasure. What this woman didn't know was that she had just made the worst mistake of her entire career. One decision that would cost her the business her grandfather built in 1962, expose a pattern of discrimination that had been hidden for decades, and result in the largest civil rights settlement in Charlotte retail history. The cameras were rolling. A customer in the corner had already noticed something was wrong, and Linda Harrington was about to destroy everything her family had worked for over 63 years. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. This story gets even more intense, and you won't want to miss what happens next. Marcus Chen had spent the last 8 years building something remarkable. As the founder and CEO of Meridian Capital Partners, he had grown a boutique investment firm from a 2-person operation in a shared office space into a company managing over $400 million in assets. His client list included professional athletes, entertainment executives, and 3 Fortune 500 companies. Forbes had featured him in their 30 Under 30 list 6 years earlier, and he had since exceeded every expectation that article set for him. Before starting his own firm, Marcus spent 4 years at Goldman Sachs, where he earned a reputation for identifying undervalued opportunities others missed. He graduated summa cum laude from Wharton and held an MBA from Harvard Business School. He served on the boards of 2 nonprofits focused on financial literacy in underserved communities. He was the kind of person who made things happen through preparation, intelligence, and relentless work ethic. His girlfriend of 3 years, Dr. Aisha Williams, was an attending physician at Carolinas Medical Center, specializing in pediatric cardiology. She had saved more children's lives than she could count and regularly volunteered at free clinics on her days off. Together, they represented exactly the kind of customers any luxury retailer should have been thrilled to serve. That Saturday, Marcus had one simple goal: find the perfect engagement ring for the woman he loved. He had already planned the proposal for their upcoming trip to the Maldives. He had researched diamonds, settings, and styles for months. He knew exactly what he wanted and had set aside $80,000 in cash to pay for it. He chose Harrington Fine Jewelers because of its reputation as the premier establishment in Charlotte, a place where families had purchased wedding rings for generations. The irony of what was about to happen to him would not be lost on anyone who heard this story later. Linda Harrington approached them near the front entrance. Without greeting them properly or introducing herself, she positioned herself directly in their path. Her body language was defensive from the first moment, arms crossed, jaw tight, eyes scanning them up and down like she was conducting an inspection. Marcus smiled politely and said they were looking for engagement rings. He gestured toward the case on the left, where he had seen several princess-cut diamonds displayed in the window. Linda didn't move toward the case. Instead, she informed them that the pieces in that section started at $15,000. She suggested they might be more comfortable at one of the mall stores, mentioning a chain jeweler by name. Aisha's hand found Marcus's arm, a gentle squeeze that said what she couldn't say out loud. She recognized exactly what was happening. Marcus kept his composure. He asked Linda directly if she had just assumed they couldn't afford her merchandise. His voice was calm, but his question was pointed. Linda's response told them everything they needed to know. She claimed she had been doing this for 22 years and said she knew her customers. Around them, the store continued its business. A white couple in jeans and sneakers browsed the case near the back without anyone hovering over them. An older white woman had a tray of necklaces spread before her on a velvet cloth, trying on pieces without any apparent price interrogation. Marcus noticed this. He had trained himself to notice everything. It was how he found opportunities others missed in the market. It was also how he recognized discrimination when it was happening right in front of him. He asked Linda one more time if she would show them the engagement rings. He specified that they were interested in the 3-carat princess cut in the center of the display. He mentioned that he had called ahead earlier in the week to confirm they had pieces in that range. Linda's face tightened. She said she remembered the phone call. Her tone implied that the voice on the phone hadn't matched the face in front of her now. She told them the store was very busy, and they might want to make an appointment for another time. The store had 4 customers in it, including Marcus and Aisha. 3 sales associates stood behind counters with nothing to do. The claim of being busy was transparently false. Marcus pulled out his phone and began recording. He held it at chest level, making sure the camera captured both his face and Linda's. The moment that phone came out, something shifted in Linda's demeanor. Her professional mask slipped, replaced by something more aggressive. She demanded to know if he was recording her. Marcus confirmed that he was, calmly stating that he had the right to document what was happening in a place of public accommodation. Linda told him to stop recording and leave the store immediately. She said he was making other customers uncomfortable, though the other customers had barely glanced in their direction. Marcus asked if she was refusing to serve them. He wanted to be absolutely clear, on camera, about what was happening. Linda stepped closer, invading his personal space. She said she reserved the right to refuse service to anyone, and that he needed to leave now. Her voice had risen loud enough that the other customers had definitely noticed now. This was her second massive mistake, and the consequences were already piling up. Quick question for you. Have you or someone you know ever experienced something like this? Type yes in the comments if you have. A woman at the back of the store had been watching the entire exchange. Her name was Catherine Morrison, and she was a local real estate attorney who had come in to pick up a watch she'd had repaired. What she witnessed troubled her enough that she pulled out her own phone and started recording from her angle. She captured Linda's aggressive body language, her raised voice, and the calm dignity with which Marcus and Aisha stood their ground. Aisha asked Linda one final time if she was refusing to show them merchandise because of the color of their skin. She wanted the discrimination stated plainly, on record. Linda's response was caught on both cameras. She said she didn't have to explain herself to anyone and repeated her demand that they leave. She added that if they didn't go, she would call the police and have them removed for trespassing. Marcus had heard enough. He told Linda that her store had just lost a significant sale, but more importantly, it had just lost its reputation. He said everything that happened had been recorded and that she would be hearing from his attorney. Linda laughed. She actually laughed. She told him to go ahead and call whoever he wanted, that her family had been in business for 60 years and wasn't going anywhere. She was wrong about that. She was catastrophically wrong. Marcus and Aisha left the store without incident. They walked 2 blocks down the street to Laurent and Associates, a competing fine jeweler that had opened 3 years earlier. The owner, David Laurent, greeted them at the door personally. Within 20 minutes, Marcus had selected a stunning 3-carat princess-cut diamond set in platinum, exactly what he had been looking for. The price was $78,000. He paid in cash, crisp $100 bills counted out on the glass counter. David Laurent's face showed nothing but professional appreciation for a customer who knew exactly what he wanted and had the means to acquire it. Do you think Linda Harrington regretted her decision at that moment? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Marcus posted his video to social media that evening with a simple caption explaining what had happened. Within hours, it had 50,000 views. By midnight, it had 500,000. Catherine Morrison, the attorney who had witnessed everything, posted her video as well. The 2 recordings together told the complete story from multiple angles. By Sunday morning, the story had been picked up by local news. By Sunday evening, it was national. A successful black entrepreneur refused service at a jewelry store, walks down the street, and pays cash for a $78,000 ring at a competitor. The optics could not have been worse for Harrington Fine Jewelers. Linda Harrington's history came out quickly after that. Former employees began sharing their experiences on social media. One described being instructed to keep an eye on black customers who entered the store. Another recalled being told that certain pieces should only be shown to customers who looked like they could afford them. The stories kept coming. Over the next week, 17 former employees came forward with accounts of discriminatory policies at Harrington Fine Jewelers. The pattern was undeniable and had apparently been in place for decades. 11 previous customers also came forward. Black families who had been turned away, followed around the store, or steered toward less expensive items. One man described being told in 2018 that the store didn't offer layaway, only to see a white customer approved for a payment plan minutes later. A woman recounted being asked for 2 forms of ID before being allowed to try on a bracelet in 2020. The NAACP Charlotte chapter announced they were gathering testimonies and exploring legal action. Civil rights attorneys began circling. What had started as one incident was rapidly becoming evidence of a decades-long pattern of discrimination. Type accountability in the comments if you think Linda Harrington should face serious consequences. The Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department received over 200 calls demanding an investigation into possible civil rights violations. The North Carolina Attorney General's office announced they were reviewing the case. The Charlotte City Council issued a statement condemning discrimination and calling for a thorough investigation. Linda Harrington released a statement through a crisis communications firm 4 days after the incident. She claimed the situation had been misunderstood and that she had never discriminated against anyone. She said the store welcomed all customers regardless of background. The statement was immediately contradicted by the video evidence. Viewers could see and hear exactly what happened. Her claims of innocence only made the public backlash worse. Her defense attempts fell apart one by one. She tried to claim Marcus had been hostile from the beginning, but both videos showed him being calm and polite throughout. She suggested the store had been too busy to serve them, but the footage clearly showed multiple idle employees. She hinted that his recording had been threatening. But North Carolina is a one-party consent state where recording in public accommodations is legal. The North Carolina Human Relations Commission opened a formal investigation. They subpoenaed employment records, customer complaints, and internal communications from the past 20 years. What they found painted a disturbing picture of systematic discrimination hidden behind the veneer of Southern gentility. Internal emails showed Linda instructing employees on how to discourage certain customers without being explicitly illegal. A 2019 memo discussed steering customers toward different price points based on appearance. Training materials from 2017 included language about protecting merchandise from loss that, when read in context, clearly referred to profiling based on race. The investigation also uncovered that Harrington Fine Jewelers had settled 3 previous discrimination complaints out of court over the past 15 years. Each settlement had included a non-disclosure agreement preventing the victims from speaking publicly. The pattern had been there all along, hidden by money and legal maneuvers. Have you made it this far? Subscribe and share this story so others can learn what happened. 8 months after the incident, the legal consequences arrived in full force. The North Carolina Attorney General filed civil rights charges against Linda Harrington personally and against Harrington Fine Jewelers as a business entity. The charges included denial of public accommodation based on race, discriminatory business practices, and creating a hostile environment for customers of color. Marcus Chen filed a separate civil lawsuit seeking damages for discrimination, emotional distress, and defamation, as Linda had given interviews suggesting he had fabricated the incident for attention. The trial took place 14 months after that Saturday afternoon in March. The courtroom was packed every day. National media covered the proceedings extensively. Civil rights organizations sent observers to document the process. Linda's attorneys attempted multiple defense strategies. They argued that her behavior was based on a misunderstanding of the customer's intentions, not their race. That argument collapsed when prosecutors presented evidence of the 17 former employees' testimonies and the pattern of complaints stretching back decades. They tried to claim Marcus had edited his video to remove context that justified her behavior. Digital forensics experts testified that the video was unaltered and continuous. Catherine Morrison's footage from a different angle confirmed everything. They suggested that the non-disclosed settlements proved nothing because no admission of guilt had been included. The judge allowed testimony about the settlements anyway, noting that a pattern of paying to silence complaints was itself relevant evidence. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Guilty on all counts. Linda Harrington sat motionless as the verdict was read. The business her grandfather had started, that her father had grown, that she had inherited and promised to protect, was finished, and everyone in that courtroom knew it. Sentencing came 2 months later. The judge acknowledged that Linda had no prior criminal record, but emphasized that her discrimination had been calculated, repeated, and concealed for years. The sentence was severe given the nature of the violations. Linda Harrington was ordered to pay $275,000 in fines. She received 3 years of probation with mandatory completion of civil rights education programs. She was permanently prohibited from owning or managing any retail establishment in North Carolina. The civil lawsuit resulted in a settlement of $1.2 million paid to Marcus Chen. The amount included compensatory damages, punitive damages, and coverage of all legal fees. $1.2 million because Linda Harrington decided a black man couldn't afford a ring. But it was never really about the money. It was about the message that discrimination carries consequences. Harrington Fine Jewelers closed permanently 6 weeks after the verdict. The building that had housed the family business for over 6 decades stood empty, a For Lee's sign in the window where diamond rings used to sparkle. Linda's professional certifications were revoked by the Jewelers of America Trade Association. She was expelled from the Charlotte Business Guild, an organization her family had helped found in 1978. Her membership in the Junior League and 3 country clubs was quietly terminated. Her personal life deteriorated as well. Her husband of 19 years filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences in a statement that many interpreted as distancing himself from her public disgrace. Friends who had defended her initially grew silent as the evidence mounted. She became a pariah in the same social circles, where her family had been prominent for 3 generations. 3 of her former managers faced separate investigations for their roles in implementing discriminatory policies. One was charged with conspiracy to violate civil rights and received 2 years of probation. The others were named in civil suits brought by former employees who had been pressured to participate in discriminatory practices. The Charlotte City Council passed the Open Door Ordinance 7 months after the verdict, establishing stricter penalties for discrimination in places of public accommodation and creating a rapid response system for complaints. The legislation was nicknamed the Harrington Act by local advocates, ensuring Linda's name would be permanently associated with the problem rather than any positive legacy. David Laurent, the jeweler who had served Marcus and Aisha with professionalism and respect, saw his business increase by over 40% in the year following the incident. He used the attention to launch a foundation, providing grants to minority entrepreneurs entering the luxury retail space. He credited Marcus and Aisha for inadvertently putting his store on the map. Marcus Chen gave several interviews in the months following the verdict. He was measured and thoughtful, exactly what you would expect from someone who had built a career on careful analysis and strategic thinking. He explained that he hadn't set out to become a symbol of anything. He had simply wanted to buy an engagement ring for the woman he loved. But when discrimination happened right in front of him, he couldn't pretend it wasn't real. He talked about the frustration of being successful by every conventional measure: Harvard MBA, company founder, major charitable donor, and still being judged first by the color of his skin. He discussed how that experience was familiar to virtually every black professional he knew, how they all had similar stories, how the only difference in his case was the cameras and the willingness to fight back publicly. The interview resonated because Marcus didn't perform outrage or seek revenge. He simply explained what happened and why it mattered beyond his individual experience. His advice for others who face similar discrimination was practical and specific. Document everything possible. Get witnesses and their contact information. File formal complaints with every relevant agency. Consult an attorney who specializes in civil rights cases. And understand that standing up for yourself is also standing up for everyone who might be treated the same way after you. The story of what happened at Harrington Fine Jewelers is not just about one store owner's prejudice. It's about the assumption that still exists in too many spaces that success and black skin are somehow incompatible, that wealth must be proven rather than assumed, that the benefit of the doubt is a privilege reserved for some and denied to others. Marcus and Aisha got married 4 months after the trial ended, on a beach in the Maldives, just as Marcus had planned. The ring on her finger sparkled in the photographs that were shared with close friends and family. It was beautiful, and it had been purchased with dignity from someone who saw them as valued customers rather than suspicious intruders. Linda Harrington made a choice that Saturday afternoon. She saw a black couple walk into her store and decided they didn't belong there. She thought she had the power, and they had none. She thought she could turn them away without consequences, the way she apparently had turned away others for years. She was wrong, and that choice cost her a business that had been in her family for 63 years, her professional standing, her marriage, her social position, and any legacy beyond being a cautionary tale about what happens when prejudice meets accountability. Justice isn't always swift or certain. Many people face discrimination and never see any consequences for those who wronged them. But sometimes, when there's clear evidence, public attention, and people willing to fight for what's right, justice does come. And that's exactly what happened here.